Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your family-friendly independent state allied forces. And maybe you saw, maybe you didn't, but I released a video earlier and I wasn't really quite satisfied with the way I spoke, as well as the length of the video. So, without further ado, today's topic is 3 things, plus some bonus items at the end. 3 things that would make the Planetside 2 Airgame a lot better. And some explanation, as quick as possible. So, right now, the Airgame in Planetside is pretty dead. Not too many pilots flying around, and it's a variety of factors. Really, it's a combination of, how much you're getting spammed at by things that you can't fight back against. The level of competitiveness in terms of when other good pods log in, and then just the overall lack of depth of flying. So I want to address partially the lack of depth of flying, as well as trying to maintain the lowered skill floor, and maybe put it even lower, right? So let's do this. What is the first change I would make? So right now in Planetside, sounds are very, 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 very quiet for an ESF, I'll say. You used to be able to hear ESFs up to 400, 500, even 600 meters if you're a pretty good listener. This is back in 2016. And really, it'd be nice to see the game return to being able to hear ESFs. It'd be very nice to hear ESFs again. So right now we have a free look meta where you just look around in free look to try and find your enemies, because sound doesn't travel far enough from another ESF, or loud enough I should say, for you to hear an ESF outside of a couple hundred meters. But the time it takes you to turn around is the time it takes someone to close the distance from like 400 meters, let's say, or 300 meters. So really, if you get engaged at 200, 150 meters and you finally figure out you're being engaged because of the ESF HUD, or because you're being shot, or because you hear the ESF before they start firing, you're pretty much dead. And this affects everybody. This affects good players. This affects lesser skilled players. This affects casuals, and this affects the elites, because if you can't hear what's coming, you can't decide what to do. So really, you'll find that if you get engaged by an ESF, you're really held hostage by the situation. And depending on the skill level of the pilot, you might just be condemned to dying. And I think this lowers the skill ceiling, as well as increases the skill floor. So really an overall compression of the skill gap, but in nobody's favor, to be honest. Because worser pilots can kill greater pilots. All that matters is just that threshold. Can you jump a target and make sure that you secure the kill? And the answer is, in a lot of cases, yes, people can. It's really hard to turn around one of those fights. So we have a meta of kind of free look spamming, flying low, kicking someone out of hover. And this favors certain ESFs more than other ones. Every ESF kind of has its strengths. The scythe's strength is to fight at range, right? Or just abuse its hitbox. But it can't really do that if the meta is to get in close and there's not sufficient tools to make sure that people don't get in close. It's a very laborious and very monotonous process to consistently free look spam on live in order to not get jumped by enemy ESFs. And even then, the certain style of flying low down to the ground is really well suited to the Reaver. And if you were to try and do it in a Mosquito, you could definitely do it. It's just you wouldn't want to meet a Reaver down at this altitude, because you'd have the same problem that you do when you're defending against one, which is you're stuck in close quarters against a vehicle with superior movement characteristics, and so you're actually being outmaneuvered. That is kind of the case right now. So my suggestion, and credit to Nully for making a comment on the video I just posted and put to unlisted. But he said, make the ESFs in first person quieter, as in make your own ESF in first person quieter so that you can hear other vehicles and other things around the continent. I would advocate for that. And then my suggestion was simply just to make ESFs louder so that you could hear them. And ESFs used to be more loud, so I don't necessarily see how this will have a profound effect on things like ground to air being able to hear ESFs. But power to being able to hear ESFs and respond appropriately, because I think that that's a lot more of interactive gameplay than suddenly just a Banshee showing up. So on the air to ground side, I see ESFs getting louder as favoring ground, and it shouldn't be a specifically large issue. It should be a lesser issue. But for air, this would really open up options just to hear ESFs rather than constantly have to freelook spam, which really helps everybody out, not just good pilots. Because the good pilots are the ones who are willing to freelook spam, and you know there's still benefit even if there's sound in the game. If there's more sound, you're gonna find benefits to freelook spamming. Period. So that concludes number one. Number two is very simple. I find the current meta of vehicle options to be redundant, and the old meta was based around convenience and being well-rounded. Current meta is existent around mitigating a nuisance, which is engagement radar. Make this engagement radar 200 meters, a 200 meter radius, and don't let it be counterable. Simple as that. Return engagement radar to the utility slot so that everyone can stop using stealth. Stealth always did deserve to be a niche tool, not a mainstay. And then you're gonna have seriously lucrative options, because composite armor is just a health pool increase by 10%, and nanite auto repair is definitely still a viable option for the sake of convenience for more skilled pilots or people who are frequently disengaging and would like not to return to the ground to repair. And then stealth can be used for its original intended purpose, blocking lock-ons, blocking coyotes. I mean, not completely blocking lock-ons, but reducing the amount of threat from lock-ons, because it increases the lock time. And maybe you could even buff stealth, and we'll see what actually is useful. But I'd rather have nanite auto repair be the standard, or composite armor be the standard, than stealth 4 be the standard, because unfortunately it seems like lock-ons have been balanced against the default ESF loadout, which is basically an ESF running stealth and nothing else. So it's really, I have no problem having staple classes. I just find this staple class right now to be kind of pointless. It's something that's come about as a the result of engagement radar, when really engagement radar is most useful at 200 meters, right? 200 meters is where you need your awareness, because people are moving up and down and all around you. At 300 meters, 400 meters, you're not being outmaneuvered to the point where you can't see someone on your screen. And I don't feel that it adds much awareness to someone's flying abilities, because it's all going to be countered. The other 400 meters are all countered. And then not running this is like, it's like you've signed your death warrant on live. If there's 2 or 3 ESFs, they see you, they're going to swarm you, you don't really have a chance. So we've created like a really toxic environment where people are just going to get swarmed the moment they run nanite auto repair. And inconveniently, this is the default configuration of the ESF. So really, it's the people who don't know what they're doing that are getting swarmed. It makes it even worse. That concludes number 2. Number 3. Number 3 is quite simple. It's just providing balancing options to the developers. And this option has been presented before, but I implore them now more than ever, especially given the lock-on changes, given that they take away 60% of an ESF's HP, and we're dealing with nerfed fire suppression. And some people might be asking how it's nerfed. It used to repair out of fire, then apply the 25% to the vehicle, but this was deemed to be kind of unfair, so they changed it for every vehicle. And this hurts the ESF the most, but you know, it also is a big issue in the Liberator, but that's because of the power creep of the Liberator getting the Afterburner as a passive, which, you know, I don't know, say what you will about the trade-offs, but getting both is quite a benefit, really quite a benefit. But especially having to deal with the worst fire suppression nowadays, it'd be nice to have myself get an ESF that's not getting spammed by locks all the time. And so I suggest this: an air-to-air variant of the Mosquito, an air-to-ground or multi-role variant of the Mosquito. One has access to all air-to-air weapons, or maybe it has access to only nose guns. You can call it light and heavy. You can call it air-to-air and multi-role. Doesn't really matter. You can divide along lines of one only having nose cannons, or one only having access to air-to-air weapons only, and the other one having access to absolutely everything. Tweak nanite costs, tweak resistance values to flak, tweak lock-on times for each vehicle, share the directives, share the cosmetics, share everything about the model that exists today. It's just you want to be able to differentiate the statistics so that you're not hurting the air game disproportionately every time you make changes to anti-air, because the people who disappear first in the sky when you ramp up anti-air are just pilots. And then the air-to-ground problem more or less stays the same, because pilots are the ones who make an air-to-ground pilot switch to their nose guns so that they can go kill the air-to-air person who just shot them down, or it makes them just get on the ground because they know that there's a threat in the area. But as it stands, air-to-air always gets shot down by flak a lot more than air-to-ground. And it kind of causes balance issues for all the people on the ground who want to be left alone by air-to-ground, but they advocate for changes that kill the things that are managing their problem in the first place. And overall, they achieve their goal, but at the cost of killing the entire air game, right? So that's the third. That's a third thing I would fix to make the air game better. And really, this would provide the developers with a plethora of tools to change the balance as they see fit, to properly pull levers and change the things they want to change instead of increasing the amount of things affected by their balance changes. Honorable mentions on this list: give the scythe the Mosquito characteristics when it comes to weight, and gravity applied to the vehicle. This will make the scythe feel a lot less terrible to fly. Yes, it'd be a buff to the scythe, and it would lose its faction trait, but honestly, its faction trait of not falling out of the sky as much while it's inverted is super nominal and a lot less useful than being able to get into hover more quickly, which the other ESFs, the Reaver and the Mosquito, are privileged to have. Sorry. Another honorable mention: the vertical axis is inverted still. You can see here, if I look down, I'm at 20 degrees. If I look up, I'm at negative 40 degrees. Another wish list items, really. I'd love to see an ability in the HUD to remove just my crosshair. We have a lot of layers in the HUD that can be toggled. Would love to see the crosshair be able to be toggled, especially in aircraft, because I want to see everything. I just don't want to see my crosshair. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure there was other things. Yeah, dead zone. We still have dead zone that's meant to deal with controller stick drift. So I'm unaware as to why dead zone applies to keyboard and mouse. And in case no one believes me, you can plug in a controller. You can use ReWASD, which converts controller inputs to keyboard and mouse inputs, and you can put it on its lowest setting, on the lowest sensitivity, and watch it just do nothing. You can put it on slightly higher sensitivities, and you can watch it very slowly pan up. But I don't know. It'd be cool not to have a dead zone. It would be cool to not have mouse acceleration, and more importantly for me, it'd be cool not to have this feeling of inertia applied to the rotation of the ESF when I pitch and my mouse stops moving. My crosshair should stop moving a bit faster. But those are just wish list items. I hope the developers can stay level-headed, and I hope pilots can stay level-headed, and I hope everyone has a nice day.